Hello, I'm Spencer Coile with the paper, What is Canada? An exploration of Canadian culture through media influence. For my research rationale, I have come to the realization that media has the ability to shape both public and private perceptions of what we consider a culture. So, in my Intro to Canadian Studies class, we were asked to define what is Canada through its different media outlets. So for this paper, I decided to research how media through film and television inspire Canada, and how we can find that this Canadian culture has more to offer for cultures around the nation. So for my research question, I ask, to what extent can Canada's culture be defined through its media expression and exposure? Let's begin. There comes a time when we all address our identity and who we are in the world. We ask ourselves, who are we? What is my purpose? And for the most part, this could prove to be a struggle for a lot of us. However, that does not mean hope is completely gone. However, at the same time, this identity crisis can also apply to people, animals, or even land masses. Or in this case, Canada. What makes up Canada? How is the culture of Canada influenced through other cultures, and how can it be displayed through other cultures around the nation? How has Canada shaped how it is perceived by other cultures? This topic can be explored through the use of so many cultural aspects, but we will just focus on the film and television side. While these two topics might not amount to much, in the long run, their influence proves to be quite powerful on other societies in regard to film and television elsewhere. Many people value film and its universal tones. It has been shaped and assimilated through the years by growing technology and ideas. Film is forever changing. The same can be said for film in Canada, and by Canadian filmmakers, actors, screenwriters, etc. The first Canadian film to be documented came from 1897 by a Manitoba farmer named James Freer, who simply wanted to show the daily life of his farm, according to the Canadian Encyclopedia, updated daily. Since that time, Canadian film has evolved into its own special form. With the introduction of film surfacing in the 1920s, Canada found a marketable place in cinema at the time. In 1939, is where Canada found its true film identity, separating itself amongst films from other countries. It was in this year that the National Film Board of Canada was founded. Its initial goal was to make film through Canadian means, but in this day and age and today's Canadian market, what they are trying to explore is Canadian culture through different medias of films. So it is in this way that we can learn more about the Canadian culture while learning about its people and ideas as well. While still making films, casting light on the Canadian perspective remains its main source of income. Since the NFB was founded in 1939, it has reached numerous feats that are astonishing to look at. To this day, the NFB have included 9 Academy Awards, as noted by the National Film Board of Canada's website, updated daily. Naturally, numerous filmmakers, now famous in all countries, have emerged from Canada, one including acclaimed film director David Cronenberg. And in this time, we have seen many Canadian actors and actresses start into the American spotlight, some of which include Neve Campbell, Ryan Gosling, and Grey's Anatomy's Sandra Oh. Among these three, they have reached an astounding Academy Award, Golden Globe, and Screen Actors Guild Award nominations. And even today, Canadian film is shaping how we, as a society, view filmmaking. In fact, according to the Vancouver Sun, on November 19, 2011, the Canadian film Under Fire, Journalist in Combat, which explores the complexity of covering wars for newscasters, had reached the top 14 finalists of documentaries for the Academy Award for Best Documentary Feature. The original list started at 124 titles, so this feat is all the more incredible for the director, Martin Burke, and the entire production staff. Taking all of this into account, the film industry benefits greatly from Canada and the films they have made. Television, much like baseball, is one of America's favorite pastimes. However, that does not mean it is any less appreciated in other countries, such as Canada. Just because Canadian programs are not outrightly dominant in the lives of Americans does not mean they are not influencing American television. According to the Museum of Broadcast Communications website, updated daily, when CBS, one of the leading American networks, premiered, many Canadians along the border of the U.S. programmed their televisions to this station as well. However, the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation also found ways to develop new television ideas for Canada as well. They found ways to first air a full-length opera, as well as directing and producing the first avant-garde drama, which is now featured in television stations across the nation. It is also of interest to note that by 1996, Canada was the second largest export for children and teenager shows across the nation. However, it is up to debate what qualified as children's television, based on the content that was displayed. A key example of this debate, they found, came in the form of the show Degrassi, which is now a household television show in the United States as well, for both teenagers and adults alike, as mentioned in the Wall Street Journal on June 30th, 2005. Regardless of this debate, the CBC was still a main export of television shows, and even today, television has helped in shaping television as we know it. For example, several shows from Canadian television have found their way to the US as well. Two of these shows would be Flashpoint and The Listener. However, it is not just US television that has been changing for the CBC. A fine example of this would come from the 2009 original series Being Erica. It is in the middle of its 4th season to this day, but it is also, according to the Globe and Sun, on November 21st, 2011, is now airing in over 160 countries across the world, and it is now being in talks to being produced in the ABC and BBC as well, America's and Britain's finest American export for television. The impact television, not just Being Erica, has had on Canadian culture is important in looking for its true identity. It is creatively set apart to represent itself among the other television stations and countries, thus making its identity all the more impressive. So, in conclusion, Canada is made up of so much to bring into consideration its identity and self-image. From film to television, its culture is highly regarded in its society, and the influence it holds on other countries is staggering. In turn, this also affects this journey of on how self-discovery can affect people as well. What we find out about ourselves can be influential to others around us, and ultimately leads to a sense of identity that can never be taken away.